Unveiling the Mask. The Historical Verification Center occupied what had once been the J. Edgar Hoover Building, home of the former Federal Bureau of Investigation. The irony wasn't lost on Ariana. An institution created to uphold the law had been transformed into one dedicated to enforcing a fabricated version of reality. Her quarters were a sterile cell, 10 feet by 12, with a narrow bed, a desk bolted to the floor, and a small bathroom facility. The walls, floor, and ceiling were the same shade of white, designed to disorient and deprive the occupant of sensory stimulation. There were no windows, only a lighting system that mimicked the passage of day into night. For the first week, Ariana endured daily interrogations. Each morning, she was escorted to a room where technicians attached neural monitors to her scalp and wrists, devices designed to detect the subtle physiological changes that accompanied deception. "Let's begin again," said Dr. Merritt, the chief evaluator assigned to her case. He was a thin man with artificially enhanced eyes that could detect micro-expressions invisible to normal human perception. "Tell me about your interest in pre-Reformation democratic institutions." "As I've explained, understanding the flaws of the previous system helps me teach the superiority of our current one," Ariana replied, maintaining the calm demeanor that had kept her alive in a world where emotional responses were catalogued and analyzed. "And your meetings with the traitor Nordia Trasp?" "She was my student years ago. She occasionally sought guidance on approved historical interpretations for her work at the Information Ministry. Ms. Trasp claims you requested access to sealed archives through her position." "She misunderstood. I mentioned my research interests, and she offered to check if relevant materials existed in the approved archives." Day after day, the questions continued, sometimes subtle, sometimes accusatory. Ariana maintained her cover story with the precision of someone who had spent a lifetime navigating the treacherous waters of an authoritarian regime. But she knew it couldn't last. The neural monitors became more sophisticated with each session, and eventually, they would detect the truth she was hiding. On the 8th day, something changed. Instead of Dr. Merritt, Councilor Vance herself entered the interrogation room. "Dr. Chen," she said, dismissing the technicians with a wave of her hand. When they were alone, she deactivated the neural monitors. "I believe we can speak more freely now." Ariana remained silent, wary of a new interrogation technique. Councilor Vance smiled slightly. "You're wise to be cautious. In your position, I would be as well." She pulled a chair closer and Saturday. "What if I told you that the Historical Preservation Council isn't quite what it appears to be?" "I'm not sure I understand, Counselor." Vance leaned forward. "Not everyone who serves the regime believes in it, Dr. Chen. Some of us maintain positions of authority precisely because we understand that history must be preserved accurately, not just the sanitized version the public receives." Ariana's pulse quickened, but she kept her face impassive. "That sounds dangerously close to historical sabotage, Counselor." "Indeed it does," Vance agreed. "Which is why I've spent decades establishing my loyalty beyond question, so that when I encounter someone like you, I can intervene before they are eliminated." "Someone like me?" "A genuine historian. Someone who seeks truth rather than conformity." Vance's voice dropped to a near whisper. "Someone with the courage to distribute forbidden knowledge to the next generation." Ariana felt a chill run down her spine. "You know about the data nodes. We've been watching you for some time, Dr. Chen. Your grandmother would be proud." At the mention of her grandmother, Ariana's carefully maintained facade cracked. "How do you?" "Julia Chen was my mentor," Vance said simply. "She established the foundation before she was captured. I've carried on her work, as have others." "The foundation?" "An organization dedicated to preserving the true historical record until such time as the people are ready to reclaim their past, and with it, their future." Vance stood and began pacing the small room. "We have operatives in key positions throughout the regime, educators, archivists, technicians, even some in the security apparatus. We've been waiting for the right moment to begin the next phase of resistance." Ariana's mind raced. Could this be real, or an elaborate trap to extract a confession? If what you're saying is true, she said carefully, then you've taken an enormous risk revealing yourself to me. Calculated risk, Vance corrected. We've monitored your activities for years. The data nodes you distributed to your students, that was the confirmation we needed of your commitment. She smiled. Besides, I disabled the surveillance in this room before entering. As far as the security monitors are concerned, we're discussing your continued evaluation process. What happens now? Ariana asked, still not fully trusting this unexpected ally. Now, we prepare you for extraction. Your cover is compromised. Nordia Trasp gave up your name under cognitive extraction. She resisted admirably, but the technology has advanced significantly in recent years. Is she alive? Yes, but her memory centers have been selectively erased. She'll be reprogrammed as a loyal citizen and returned to a diminished position. You, however, are too valuable to risk. We need to get you to Foundation headquarters. Where is that? The last place the regime would look, directly beneath them. Vance's eyes gleamed. But first, there's something you need to see. Something that will explain why now is the time to accelerate our plans. From her pocket, Vance withdrew a small device unlike any Ariana had seen before, a sphere of what appeared to be liquid metal that shifted and pulsed with an inner light. This is a quantum memory core, technology the regime doesn't know exists. It contains the complete, unaltered historical record of the United States of America from its founding to its fall. But more importantly, it contains proof that the Supreme Patriot's artificial intelligence construct is failing. Failing? How? The original Lupmot died 30 years ago, as you know. His consciousness was supposedly uploaded into the quantum network that now governs the Alliance. But the truth is more complex. The upload was incomplete, fragmentary at best. For decades, a team of programmers has been maintaining the illusion of his continued existence, patching the corrupted code, creating new responses to new situations. Vance placed the sphere on the table between them. It hummed softly, projecting a series of diagnostic reports into the air. These are internal system logs from the Central Computation Facility. The AI construct that poses as the Supreme Patriot is experiencing cascading failures. Soon, it will become impossible to hide the deterioration from the public. When that happens, the power struggle among the regime's factions will create a window of opportunity, our best chance in decades to restore democratic governance. Ariana stared at the projections, trying to absorb the implications. But even if the AI fails, the security apparatus remains intact. The surveillance systems, the loyalty enforcement directorate, the mimetic programming, all of it will continue functioning. That's where your students come in, Vance said, a note of admiration in her voice. The data nodes you distributed contain more than just historical records. They carry a dormant quantum virus program to activate exactly 50 years after the Great Reformation, tomorrow. Ariana's eyes widened. What will it do? It will temporarily disable the monitoring implants, allowing free thought without detection for approximately 12 hours. During that window, the Foundation will broadcast the truth about the regime's origins to every neurofeed in the Alliance. They'll shut down the feeds as soon as they detect unauthorized content. They'll try, Vance agreed. But the virus will have already spread to the central control systems by then. The regime will be fighting technical failures on multiple fronts simultaneously. She paused. And that's when the sleeper cells will activate. Sleeper cells? Citizens who've been prepared for this moment, positioned in key infrastructural roles, ready to prevent the regime from regaining control once the truth begins to spread. Ariana shook her head, overwhelmed by the scale of the plan. All this time, I thought I was one of very few. That resistance was scattered and disorganized. That's exactly what we needed everyone to think, including those within the resistance itself. Compartmentalization has kept the Foundation secure for decades. Only the Central Council knows the full scope of our operations. And now you're telling me. Because you're to join that council, assuming you accept. Your grandmother's seat has remained vacant since her capture. Before Ariana could respond, an alarm blared throughout the building. Red lights began flashing in the corridor outside. Vance cursed under her breath. We may have been discovered sooner than anticipated. She pressed her palm against a seemingly unremarkable section of wall, which slid aside to reveal a narrow passage. This way. Quickly. As they entered the hidden corridor, Ariana heard the sound of boots in the hallway outside, security forces responding to the alarm. There's something I don't understand, she said as they hurried through the dimly lit passage. How did you manage to insert yourself into the Historical Preservation Council? The vetting process for such positions is notoriously thorough. Vance's pace didn't slow as she answered. I didn't insert myself. I was born into it. My father was one of Lutmut's original cronies, Vance, the Secretary of Technological Control. Ariana nearly stumbled in shock. Vance had been one of the regime's most notorious figures, the architect of the surveillance state, responsible for implementing the monitoring implants and the citizen loyalty score system. You're the daughter of a monster, yes, Vance finished grimly. I grew up believing in the regime's propaganda. I was a true believer until I was 23, when I discovered evidence of what my father had done to millions of dissenters, including your grandmother. They reached the end of the passage where an antiquated elevator waited. The children of monsters sometimes become the fiercest opponents of their parents' legacy, Vance continued as they descended deep beneath the city. I've dedicated my life to dismantling what my father built. Tomorrow, we'll take the most significant step yet toward that goal. The elevator stopped, and the doors opened to reveal an underground complex humming with activity. Dozens of people worked at advanced computer terminals, monitoring streams of data. Others gathered around holographic displays showing maps of the city with hundreds of blinking points of light. Welcome to Foundation headquarters, Vance said, leading Ariana into the heart of the complex. And just in time. The anniversary celebrations begin in 14 hours, and with them, the revolution.